What's going on, everyone? My name is Jason with Point B Studios, and in this tutorial I'm going to give you a brief overview of the composition settings inside of After Effects. Now, I've gotten a couple of questions before about just starting out, how to get into the composition settings, what are the right ones to go with so I can start designing. I'm going to answer these right now, so let's get right into the tutorial. Alright, now a quick note before getting into this. I'm using Adobe CC 2018, but if you have an older version like CS6 or, CC 2014, whatever version you have, you're going to be able to follow just fine. So don't worry about having a different version. What I'm using, you're going to be able to access these settings the same way. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to go up to the composition menu here. We're going to go over to new composition, and one of the first things before I click on this I want you to notice is you got a shortcut right here, and this is the Apple N shortcut. This is going to basically allow you to get to a new composition by just hitting Apple N on your Mac or Control N on your PC. So I've always gotten in the habit of understanding shortcuts to make my workflow easier. So I'll always recommend it to you to save time when you're designing. Get to know your shortcuts. It's going to save you time, and it's a good habit to get into. So we're going to go into do composition here. We'll click that. And as soon as you click that, you're going to get this window here, and this is where we're going to put in all of our information for our composition prior to. So for composition name, I'm going to just go ahead and call this new project. The presets option here is basically a list of various presets that you can choose from. Personally, I choose from this middle tier here, the HDV presets here. I usually go with HDV 1080-24. That's kind of my go-to. So if you're starting out, I would definitely choose something from this mid-tier here. But for this instance, I'm going to choose HDTV 1080-24. Use a preset that's best suited for what you're working on. If you want to create your own custom preset, say you want to create a composition that's 4096 by 1080. Well, if you notice here, as soon as I type in 1080, it's reconfiguring the height for me. And the reason for that is because I have the lock aspect ratio checked off. So what that basically means is it's already basically locking in my aspect ratio as I put a number in. So if you want something specific, you're going to have to first uncheck the lock aspect ratio, and then from that point on, then you can set your width and your height the way you need it to be, and it'll get it exact. So if you wanted a 4K width by 1080 height, uncheck that lock aspect ratio, and you can set it to whatever you want. The next thing we're going to go to is our frame rate. Typically, if you want a film look in your design, if you're shooting in a film look on from your camera, you're typically going to choose a frame rate of 23.976. That is the cinematic look that you get in films, and so if you want to match that, you're going to want to choose this frame rate. If you want more of a TV look, you're going to choose 29.97. If you want slow motion, you want to choose those higher frame rates. You're going to want to choose a frame rate of 60 or above, 59.94, 60, 120. Some cameras can do up to 240 frames per second. In this case, we're going for a frame rate of 23.976, and so we're going to go with that. Okay, the resolution option is actually a little misleading. The resolution option here is not determining what kind of resolution that you want. This is a simple playback feature. This is basically asking you how you want the playback of your footage or your design to be played. So if you want it to be played at this full resolution, you'll want to leave it at full. You also have the option of moving it down to half, a third of resolution, or fourth. And the reason why you have these options is that maybe you have a slower computer and maybe you're working with some higher res bitrate files. Maybe so you're working with like 4K or something like that, and your computer's having issues playing back those really high res files. So to compensate for that and to make your workflow stay efficient, you may want to drop your resolution of your playback down to something like half or a third or maybe even a fourth, so your computer can basically keep up with your workflow. The more and more effects that you actually add to your composition, the harder it's going to be on your computer to process all that information. So you definitely want to take that into consideration. Great thing about this is that it's just literally a drop-down click away from you kind of making your computer adjust to the quality. And so and the great thing about it is that it's only affecting the playback. So when you export, you're not changing the resolution of your footage or your composition or anything like that. It's just for the workflow until you're ready to export. Then you got your start time, your time code. You got your duration, so you can set how long you want your composition to be. We can set this for anything. In case you didn't know, from right to left, the two numbers here are your frames. The second two numbers to the left of that are your seconds, and then you got your minutes, and then you got your hour. So take that into consideration. If you've got 24 frames in a second, then you know that 24 frames here is going to equal 1 second, so on and so forth. So other than that, you can choose a background color, but that really doesn't do or say or change anything that's going on with the composition. And we're going to leave it at that. Once you have decided that that is what you want for your composition settings, you go ahead and hit OK. A new composition will show up in your project panel as your new project, and you're ready to take off. All right, everyone. I hope you got some value out of this video. I hope this answers some questions in getting started with a new After Effects project, getting into a new composition and start designing. There's some technical aspects about this that you have to understand and move forward. But once you start getting into the groove of it, it becomes second nature, and you can focus on the really fun aspects of After Effects, like designing and adding effects and blending modes and all that kind of good fun stuff. So like this video if you liked it, share it with someone you think is going to get some value out of it, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Until then, hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you guys in the next video.